Hello and welcome to this new video about the Mayastar 7 features. Today we're going to take a look at a tool within the modeling panel here. And today it's the turn of the pivot tools. So this tool is aimed at doing some manipulations on your pivot points, especially when you realize maybe days after that you made a mistake by, for example, freezing the transformation of this sphere that supposedly should be a eye, and it's now pointing in an odd direction. Okay, we can make it even point in a even more odd direction, like that. Okay, and at some point you would like to get it back to have a more sensible direction, sensible orientation, so that you can work your way around some issues or whatever. Okay, so that's the pivot tools. So when we click that, we have a little window here that is basically split in two sections. The very first on top is about reorienting the pivot point. And the second one is to get your pivot point exactly where you wanted it to be, based off a selection that you make. So I will start with this one, with the center pivot on selection, because it's easier. You make any kind of selection, like this, but it could be faces, could be edges. Let's do also with faces. Oh, yeah. Like this, where you see the pivot point here. All right, it's exactly where the object pivot point will end up to be. Okay, and if this object was not a perfect sphere, you could do a nice selection on the equator line of the sphere and do a center like that. Okay, so then you have the pivot point placed exactly where you want it to be. It's just easier to get the pivot point exactly where you want. Okay, now for the orientation part, instead we have this other section. This other section here that we just covered is the easiest part. The very first part here for the orientation is a little bit more elaborate. So the very first selection is the aim axis. So what axis of your pivot point you want to be the aim, okay? And the up axis, which axis you want to be pointing in the up direction for our object. So say that since we are working with MayaStar and I have Z up set up here, I will have the Z axis to be up as well. And the X axis is, to me, is fine, because the front of an avatar in for Second Life is the X-axis. So probably I want this eye to realign with the world axis that are aligned, which the avatar is aligned to. So X-axis is fine, up axis Z, fine. And so we can proceed with select object. Step 2, select a vertex that represents the negative object axis. So basically what is the behind of this object. So the behind of this object is here, okay? And there, as soon as I make that selection, first point, select a vertex that represents the positive direction axis. So in which direction, which is the point that looks at the direction that should be forward. Okay, so I select that one, click on this, and then select a vertex that represents the up axis, or you can also not select anything. Okay, so if you select a vertex, that will be the direction where the up axis, in this case the Z axis, will be pointed at. If you don't, the seen up axis will be used instead. So the very first example, I will redo that later, with nothing selected, up direction point. And there you go. Now you have the pivot point oriented exactly along the direction we wanted. Negative x, the first point, positive x, second point, up axis, the z-axis that is pointing up. So if I now zero this out, our object goes back to be aligned with the world position, with the world orientation, sorry. Okay, so let's redo this with an odd orientation and freeze. Okay, and this time we will redo the procedure, selecting the up direction from a vertex. Okay, so select object, negative axis first. Come on, first point, positive axis, second point, and let's grab this one as the direction where the up axis is going to point at, and you will see that the z-axis is pointing here. In this case, the up axis is what is going to rotate upwards once we zero out the transforms. And so if I go to vertex, you will see that what I had selected before is now on the top. Okay, I made it into objects, into clickable buttons here, because you might want to have the ability to say, open the UV editor and tell, okay, this area here needs to be the top. Okay, so if we redo it, because we had made a mistake, we selected the vertex here, and this should not be the top, should be this area here. Okay, I will redo it. First point, second point, and for the top, I'm going to select a vertex from here. So vertex, and say that it needs to be this one here. Okay, it looks like it's not working. Okay, let's do UVs. This is a weird bug. Okay, so okay, fine. So we can take a look at that like this, and that is right there. Okay, so that's a vertex. Up direction point, and then zero out. You've got that vertex to be on top. It's really weird that it is not selecting vertices here. Oh well, that's fine. I will find out why this Maya version is not letting me select, but while I was developing I could. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. So I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.